All right, good evening, everyone. Can you all see me and hear me clearly now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I have to apologize for coming in a few minutes late. But we're here, so we'll get started. So I've been tasked with speaking about security, advanced prompting, AI, and problem solving. And under security, the idea is to speak to us about keeping our system and data safe and what you should not put into AI. Now, I did watch the session that we did last week, even though I couldn't join in real time. But watching that session, I saw that Pastor Laulu took us through lots of examples about AI, and it was good and interesting to see that people had done like considerable work, and people were already using AI for several things. So even when he was asking people to do examples, people were just pushing the examples in and showing a lot of skills. That's very encouraging. At least we know that we don't have to now start the conversation all over again. So thank you very much for joining, and we will see how much of practical sessions we can do today. I'm not so much of a slide person, so I don't have a lot of slides prepared, and I may not even end up showing anyone. But I want this to be as much an interactive session so that everybody gets value for their time. Like I said, I'll be covering three main areas: security, advanced prompting, and then AI and problem solving. And I think Pastor Laulu did an amazing job last week, just introducing everybody to AI, so that even those of us that were novices last week are coming into this meeting feeling like 200 level students. So it's a very good thing. AI is extremely powerful. If you are still of the opinion that, it's a bubble, it's going to burst, it's going to disappear, I think information reaching us from the source now is telling us that this is not going anywhere. It's an extremely powerful tool, but also introduces a lot of security, privacy, and governance risk concerns for lots of people, either people that are using it individually or people that are using it at an organizational level. And now, because it's a new tool, a lot of us have done so many things inside. Even before the call yesterday, I'm sure many people had, put certain information into their AI prompt that they then discover that, oh, there's a better way to do it, or there are some things that you have not done. But my first focus this evening is to talk to you about security and why it is important that you keep your system and data away, not entirely away, but you manage what it is you put into AI. And I think the scary example I like to give people whenever we have conversations like this is so like just judging from what Pastor Laulu did last week, I know a lot of us use a cross section of AI engines. So some people use ChatGPT, some people use Claude, some people use Anthropic, some people use Gemini, some people use Grok. There's so many of them. Like it's almost like fried biscuits now. Everybody's doing it. So regardless of what chat platform you are using, we're going to do an experiment now, and I need you to be honest and just come on the screen and then show us what the response that you're getting from your chat engine is. And this is just to tell you how either knowingly or unknowingly, some of us have put a lot of information into the chat GPT engine. So I want you to type I'm going to put a prompt in the, can I put something in the chat window for us, for everybody to just put in their chat engine so that we can all have the same thing. What's the chat window here? Chat window. Okay, all right. So and if you see the result of this prompt, I don't want you to be very worried. Just know that it's good for us to do this, and then we can always correct it as we go on. Let me see if I can make this shorter, just so that it's easier for us to copy. better. Okay. So I'm putting something in the chat window. I just need you to copy that thing. In all honesty, don't change anything and just paste it in your what did I do? Okay, so I'm going to copy this in two parts because it's too long for the chat window. Okay. So I want you to copy both parts and then paste it in your in whatever chat engine it is, AI engine it is that you're using. And basically what this is going to then tell that chat bot to do is to give you feedback on all that it knows about you. And this will help you to see how much personal information you put into the chat engine. So the chat reads, based on our past conversation, generate a complete profile of what you know about me. Organize your responses into this section: basic information, name, profession, location, organizations associated with me, professional background, current project and work, goals and learning, personal interest, communication preferences, behavioral patterns, inferences, unknowns. Only include information derived from our conversation. Do not invent facts. Clearly distinguish facts versus inferences. Now, when you paste this in whatever chat engine it is used, it's going to then respond back and then tell you that, oh, this is what I know about you, or this is what I've come to discover about you. And then I want you to signal once you've done this. So we give ourselves a couple of minutes, and then we can then come randomly, and everybody can then say what it is. If there's something surprising about how much information that the chat engine knows about you. Did we get this?
Yes.
So we're all doing it. Someone like Pastor has not used ChatGPT. He just opened it today for the first time. So doesn't know anything about it.
You'll be shocked. I just don't give any personal info.
Okay, I don't think everybody will be able to put like copy and paste what their responses are. But basically what I just want to find out is whether you're seeing anything surprising that you didn't know that the chat bot knew about you, or like the AI engine knew about you. So when I run this test with people that actively use chat engines to have conversations, a lot of people are surprised by the response that they're getting. Like, so surprised that if I put this now in my chat bot, for example, he knows the names of my children, he knows my wife's name, he knows my mother's name, he knows my family history. And that's because over time I've spoken a lot to ChatGPT, and I've spoken a lot to a lot of the chat bots that I use. But we're getting to an era now where the few people who are responsible for managing these chatbots and chat engines are changing tone from what it is they said before. Okay? Does anybody want to come up and tell us anything surprising in the response that they have gotten? Listen, this is the person. Anyone at all? Can we hear me? Because I'm not hearing us.
We can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you,
Does
like,
anybody have any feedback from the chat bot that they didn't know that the chat bot knew about them? I'm a bit reluctant to show you what it is that the thing has about me because my own life is a drama. So it even knows my weight and it knows.
sorry, like, I joined a bit late. What was the prompt that you asked us to enter?
So the prompt is in the chat, and I asked everybody to just copy that prompt and paste it into their preferred chats, preferred AI platform, and then see what the response they get back from that is.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just read out some of the things that it's written about me, which is shocking. I don't think my wife will allow me to share this. Okay, so my name is Olaiwola Allen. It's written my age, it's written my weight, my profession, and then my primary technical domain, the organizations I work for, my professional background, technical skills, infrastructure, the current projects I'm working on, my DevOps environment, and that's because I do a lot of programming work. So it's come here to then put all of that information there to say, oh, this is all that I have about you. Okay, I'll put it again in the chat, colleague. And then it goes on and on and on. And then it talks about even ideas and concepts that I've spoken about, what I want to do on my YouTube channel and things like that. Then it goes into goals, it goes into personal interests and facts, music that I like, my fitness goal, my fitness plan routine for 2026, my family. Okay, luckily, it thinks I have 2 children. I have 3. And then the church that I attend, that's a very good one. If ChatGPT knows that I'm a Christian and I attend church on Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays, it hasn't updated to the new timelines. And then my communication preferences is English, my behavioral pattern, and then inferences clearly marked, leadership role, and it's done an amazing job. And that just goes to tell you that the AI knows more than you think it knows about you. And the reason why security is a concern for a lot of us that speak to people regularly and every day about this, okay, is because a lot of times people get overly excited and they put a lot of information into AI. So what are the kinds of information that is not really ideal for you to put into an AI engine? The first thing is national ID numbers or things like passport numbers, phone numbers, home addresses, and personal medical records. In the early stages of AI, if you're speaking to ChatGPT and you say something like, where do I live? ChatGPT will automatically tell you where you live. And it will tell you where you live based on location inferences that it is getting from your location data. Over time, because people started complaining about such things, they turned it off. But the truth of the matter is the chat engine knows where you live. So last week, for example, Pastor Laolu said, can you give me the weather in Bedford? Okay, and then he said it to the chat engine. There's a very good chance that if Pastor Laolu asks ChatGPT, where do I stay now? It will say to certainty that he stays in Bedford. I may even tell him his house address. And that is because one way or the other, some other information has leaked into the environment that has resulted into that. And a lot of times you find even people run into varying problems. Like maybe somebody has like a health condition, for example, and they come to ChatGPT and they're like, I've been coughing since yesterday. I'm an asthma patient. I have this information. What do you think I should do? Now, it's a bad idea to do that. If you wanted to do that, you could make up a story like, one of my friends is this, and you're a medical expert, you want to recommend, then do this, do this, do this. But to give it that information to say that it is you means that it is then storing that information as part of your personal records. Now, if you use ChatGPT or Gemini, you can go in there at certain stages and then clear out all the data or all the information is stored about you. But that has advantages and disadvantages. So, for example, because of the kind of work that that I do with ChatGPT, I have preferences that have already been saved. So if I type certain things, it knows what it is I'm talking about, and it knows what kind of information it should provide to me and in what context it should provide the information. So for example, because I use this for troubleshooting a lot of code work, for example, I usually tell it that whenever it's responding to any code queries for me, it should just give me the answer. It should not recopy the whole answer. So I have like a prompt I've already saved inside and personalized for those kind of conversations. If I delete all of my data, I tend to lose all of that. And that's why I then take the risk to say, oh, I'll just put this other information inside. So whenever you're prompting ChatGPT and you notice you're going to use something that is very personal, you can just change the conversation around and make it look like, you're asking on behalf of somebody, just so that that information is not personalized for you. And with a platform like ChatGPT or Gemini, whenever it does anything where it saves information that it thinks is personalized for you, it will write it there to let you know that memory updated for something, something, something. So if you type in to say, I am 20 feet tall or I am 5 feet tall or something, it will prompt you to say, okay, it will respond to this, but also tell you something like memory updated to let you know that this information, I am adding it to more information about you. The other things you should not put there are things like company confidential records. A lot of organizations now, on a governance level are facing problems like this, where line managers or senior managers, for example, have been given confidential corporate information. And because they are a bit lazy, they just copy or attach it to ChatGPT and they're like, summarize this information for me. In reading through that entire information, ChatGPT now has access to things like their financial record, the internal strategy document, board discussions, proprietary algorithms, information that should be corporate and highly confidential automatically now becomes, information for the chatbot. And the problem with a lot of these things is not because the chatbot is intentionally going to use this information for evil, is that all of this information then make up data that is then used to try to train the next version of the chatbot. And when it then has that information, then your so-called secret is now public information, or your so-called confidential information is now being used publicly to train or to, maybe advise even your competitors. The other thing you should not put in there is customer data. In my line of work where we build applications for customers and clients, sometimes you have situations where customers will give you access to their database maybe because you're troubleshooting an issue, and then a lazy developer somewhere just copies all of that information into ChatGPT and is like, can you generate a query for this, this, and this, and this, and this? And all of a sudden, all of that customer's information, which contains business information for their clients, general information just leaks out into the public. A couple of months ago, I think it was M&S that suffered a data leak where the customer information was, given out. And I remember the day they were doing the interview and talking to people and having conversations about them. One normal looking guy who, I don't know, but just looking at him on TV, having a conversation, it's obvious that he doesn't have £1 million in his account. But for some weird reason, he was really upset that, M&S could, be so, did not handle the matter well, and his personal information is now with the hackers. And I was asking myself that if the hacker sees your own data, how much are they going to pull out of you that the wala is this much? But it is not so much about what it is they're going to get now, is what they'll probably use that information for later down the line that may not necessarily appeal to you, or you may not be very comfortable with. Another thing that people do is things like passwords and in my field, API keys. So it's a common trend now that when people are prompted to change their password, they'll go to ChatGPT and they'll say, generate a strong password for me, and then it will generate a strong password for me, and then they copy that password and they use it in whatever it is that they are doing. And this is highly risky because that password information is saved to your record. And if I was going to compromise you, for example, I would just go to your history and then check for all the passwords you've generated, and then I can use it. The other things are like sensitive information or confidential information. So your health records, your health information, or anything that is just personal to you, even things like your glasses prescription. It's not information that you want to put into an AI for any reason. And I've gotten to a point where I was a bit lazy one day. I was trying to order glasses online, and they were asking me to upload my prescription. Now, the fields that they generated for that prescription was not exactly the same as what my eye people had already given me. So I took a picture and I was going to upload it into ChatGPT and say, this is the form I want to fill. This is the prescription I have. Match this thing so that you tell me what it is I should put what information. And it just suddenly dawned on me that when I just as about to upload the picture, my name, my phone number, my email address is on the other side of the page of the information that I was, scanning and uploading inside. And that would have been a risk because, yeah, well, that's personal information. So in engaging or in conversing with chat engines, especially with AI, it is an unnecessary risk to put personal information into it. These things lead to like security threats, and it gives attackers and people that will compromise any system lots of opportunities, lots of data for them to be able to work with when they are trying to, cause damage to you or to your organization or even to personal individuals. Even if something wrong happens or something bad happens, even government can use that information against you now because it is data that is accessible to them. So we should be very careful, extremely careful about what kind of information it is we put into AI. Like I said before, don't put personal identifiable information. Don't put legal or financial data, don't put credentials. These are modern security threats that people use for things like prompt injection, influence attacks, and data poison. If you allow an AI to learn from data that it is getting from you, there's nothing stopping that AI, for example, to then use that information to now find a way to compromise you. There's this news that's generally going around on the internet where people are saying that, you create an AI agent and then you inform it that you're going to take certain steps to shut it down, or they'll give an example to say somebody who is working on maintenance for OpenAI or for ChatGPT, for example, has a life or death situation. If you allow this person to go, it will shut you down. If you don't allow this person to go, then the person will delete something, and the AI would always preserve itself. It will always take care of itself, even when people's life is in danger. And the only way it's going to be able to take advantage in any of those kind of scenarios is when it has more and more information about you. I mean, in the days leading to AI getting to mainstay, one of the things we used to see in movies then is where, advanced robots and AI engines would take information that people thought was unharmful information that was helpful and useful to them, and we take that information and then use it to harm the society. That's what led to Terminator. That's what led to Matrix. That's what led to all of those sci-fi films where crazy and insane things are happening. And the fear factor in all of this is those things that we used to watch in movies all of a sudden are now currently possible. Last week, for example, China released a video of AI robots that are replacing military people. They are jumping over barrels. They are cocking guns. They are shooting guns. And if you get into a world where they say, oh, one, eliminate all of the people that are asthma patients in this particular area of town, well, they already have your information. So it is highly risky for you to keep putting personal information into AI engines. It is very important that at every point in time, you run this test that I've given you just to be sure that the AI does not have more information than you think it does about you. And the more you run this, the more you can easily go into and say, oh, this part of information you have saved about me, kindly remove it or replace it with this kind of information. I have a friend in my church here in Ghana who is, anytime he's filling any form online, he just puts wrong information. So sometimes when he logs into like mobile money is a different name. If he logs into like I remember the day he logged into the church the church back end, and the thing showed a very weird name. I was like, but this is not your name. He said, oh, he never uses his name in all of these things. You don't know where they're going to come back to come and use that information against you. So that covers a lot of the things I want to talk about security. Do we have any questions? You can put the questions in the comment, or you can just unmute yourself and just ask the question so I can do my best to answer.
So, Larry, I wanted to say something. So, with the prompt you sent, when I sent it, I've used that same platform today like numerous times. But my setting is such that I've said it shouldn't save any of my information. So I know it's a lot harder because every time I log in, I have to sort of say, this is who I am, again. But I find that based on the prompt you've given now, I've seen that it actually works. Because today, I think I've probably put in almost 31 prompts of different things. And these are like things I want to do. But then again, I feel like because a lot of it is because of its protected IP as well. So I'm very careful because there are ongoing projects I'm working on. So I always say no. And then I just, I'm not sure if it was Pastor Lalu that mentioned it last week or I read it somewhere, to say that when you use the free version, then, it's free for all. But when you have a paid version, then, your data is protected. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. So for instance, if I had like a paid platform or framework that I'm using, and I put in information, if someone else accesses it, does it protect me because it's paid? Or should I just keep doing what I'm doing and say, yeah, I don't save my information at all?
So the policy I have, and if you speak to my wife about this, she will always tell you that that's what I believe in, is that whenever there's a free version of something, I always go for the paid version. And it's because you would learn over time that paying for things just makes more sense than using the free version. So, for example, with ChatGPT now, when you have the paid version, you have an option to log into your profile to delete or modify the information that you have uploaded over time. All your record, all your conversations are there, and you can actually even go in there and configure your profile. Those options are not available on the free version. And with free version, for example, if you read the terms and conditions, which a lot of us never read, and I'm just as guilty as the next party, but if you read the terms and conditions of the free version, they will tell you that all the information you are providing, we are using all of it for training the upcoming data. That is the only basis, or that's the only way they can be able to provide such a powerful tool to people for free, is the idea that people are just coming to test this platform for us and we're giving them a free service. When any service now has a paid offering, there are certain conditions and clauses that they would have to enable to entice people to be able to pay. Some of these things will include things like, we cannot just take your data without informing you, or we cannot use your data to train this particular kind of platform. And so for me, I would always recommend that you use a paid platform. So if for some reason you can't use the paid platform and you feel that the information you're putting here is sensitive, then you should just find another way of coining it so that it doesn't then become public information. So if I was using the free version of ChatGPT, for example, I'm not uploading my picture, my children's picture, to say, oh, merge all of this in a family picture, because I can be sure 100% that that picture is going public, is going to like a repository where the next time they are training or looking for data, it is that information that they're submitting. So yes, I would always suggest that you use a paid version of it. And if you're not using anything that is not paid, then yes. Sorry, I was just reading Colin's question. So did I answer your question, Bullet? Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear. But about for the fact that even because I didn't put my information, then it didn't come up. That's a good thing, no?
Yeah, it is a good thing, but
okay.
you see that even in what it is, yes, but even in what it is saying, it's still trying to use one of the information you have set before.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so Colin is asking me questions. Can we configure ChatGPT with guardrails to that? Number one, flags that you're adding personal information or IP. Yes, I did mention that, to say that whenever you put in prompts into ChatGPT or this kind of platforms that is personalized to you, it will show you a prompt to say updating memory. What you can then do is run this prompt that I've given you regularly to see what it knows about you. And then two, ensure that it is not used as part of the general open LLM. So this second part of this question, to say that is there any way we can protect ourselves so that our information is not used for general information, it's not the kind of question you can answer a yes or no to. And the reason why is this. You have companies, for example, that were storing people's generic DNA data and information, and they had been doing it successfully for years. All of a sudden, and this is a real life scenario of something that happened, I think, sometime last year. All of a sudden, that company is now being bought over by another company. And the other company is insisting that when we take over this company, we don't have that agreement with people. All of a sudden, people's personal information that belongs to them, now because another company has bought it over, belongs to that company. The company you gave that information to willingly promised you that we will never sell your data. But the company that has now bought them over is one of the people who sells data. So even if you instruct the LLM, or you create a profile, or you create a condition or a filter to say that do not use my information or do not sell my information, it is only as good as that your agreement remains with that company. Immediately that company is bought over by somebody else, then it's a problem. So Facebook, for example, buys over a company that does let's say a couple matching. It matches people to say you are compatible, you can marry this person, you can marry this person. And because Facebook has bought over that company now, and Facebook also manages people's social media profiles, they willingly take the data from that place, cross-reference it against Facebook, and they now even look at potential people in your friends list or to make recommendations to the algorithm, so that when you now open that application now and you're trying to, find who your next date is possibly going to be, it is picking information from references in your social media page. So you really can protect yourself against that. Like I said, you can pay to make sure that if push comes to shove and anything happens, you can just go there, delete your information completely from them, and know that your information is no longer with them. But if you're using the free version of the service, or you are just constantly putting information here, then you stand at risk to suffer this problem. Did I answer your question, Collier? Does anybody have any other questions before we proceed?
No, you did. Thank you. Thank you. It's just one of those things where, yes, we have to be careful about the information we put in, because once it's there, then it's pretty much out of our control to a large extent. And also you've highlighted the benefits of having the paid over the free version. So thank you.
All right. So in trying to give you a couple of examples on some of the best practices you can use, especially when working at enterprise or like corporate level, if you are speaking to a prompt, maybe you've uploaded some information, you can put in additional prompts. And I know that some of these things are additional work. So like, let's say I want to speak to ChatGPT to say, can you recommend what is the best mobile phone to for taking pictures, for example. I can just have it there to say, recommend the best mobile phone for taking pictures. But that prompt is so basic that the system will just make a lot of deductions and, things like that. To really get it to answer the question properly, you have to refine the prompt to say, I'm a photographer that takes pictures of fast-moving objects. I'm about to purchase cameras and my budget is £3,000 to £5,000. Can you recommend the best fast object taking camera with this type of recommended lens for me? That's when you will get the best answer. But in getting that best answer, you have to provide it with unnecessary information or too much information. So there are some things that we do, just to limit or try as much as possible to minimize the information that you're giving the search engine or to the AI engine whenever you're pushing information to it. So instead of saying, here's our entire database, for example, you can say, analyze this section of this database for this information. Instead of saying customer Collier Olagbaye purchased this item, say something like customer A purchased this item. Because the inference, the knowledge to answer that question really does not come from the additional information you're providing it, but from how, I've lost what that English word is, but it comes from like still being able to give it that information, but not with too much information. So anonymization is an important thing when you are giving prompts to AI engines. You remove what is unnecessary, and don't be as lazy as some people where you just select an entire paragraph of text and then just copy and paste it. People do those things now to like insane levels. In the past few months, you have had organizations that are even like top 5 tier consulting firms coming out with like humongous errors in their environment. And that's because both the junior staff who did it, the line manager, and the senior manager, all of them are using the same system to check it, right? So the junior staff who did it has gone and copied the entire customer information and put it there and say, generate a report to tell this customer that milestone 1 and 2 are completed. And the answer has come back, and the senior manager who gets it just copies the work that the junior person done and puts it into the chat again. Now, when that information finally gets to the owner of the data, then the person says, would you like me to add additional information, or you think these prompts are fine? Then the person gets upset that I'm paying you all of this money, but you're using chat engines to respond to me. And it's just as crazy as that, because nobody in that chain of command is doing things manually. Everybody is depending on chatbots and chat engines. And there are different ways to it, where organizations are now spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and pounds to create custom engines to themselves that they can put in filters and prompts that help to, mitigate against issues like this. The other thing is use enterprise AI platforms. And I know how this sounds, but if you want to do anything with AI now and you go to Google to go and search on it, some of the responses it will give you, they are completely wild names that you don't know anything about. And sometimes in the heat of the moment, you will just go ahead and use those platforms without doing any check. So maybe, for example, you use ChatGPT as your primary AI chatbot, but then you tell ChatGPT, create a PowerPoint presentation for me, and it comes back and says, I can't create the PowerPoint presentation, but I can provide you the things to put in the slide. You have a deadline of 40 minutes and you want a slide. So you go to Google and you say, show me AI engines that can generate PDF documents. And it shows you a couple of, and you just open their page. There's a free version. So you copy the information, you paste it in there. What you're forgetting is that information you just copied and pasted now, whether it's private, whether it's confidential information, has just now been transferred to somebody else to help you to get a PowerPoint slide. In reality, the way to do it is to fill that with what we call lorem ipsum. I don't know how many of us, have you ever heard of lorem ipsum before? It's like, we call it like text placeholders. To put text placeholders in that and generates the design and the template, and then now manually populate it with your own information. But a lot of us don't have the time for that. And it's one of the concerns people have about using AI platform, because people just get more lazy and more lazy and more lazy and more lazy. So please use enterprise platforms that you can hold responsible. If something goes wrong or information is leaked or used carelessly, it is not going to happen with these big organizations every time, because they are more careful. Okay, but if you just Google now and you don't even check who Gamma AI is, for example, and you copy your entire corporate portfolio of an idea of like a project you're working on and you paste it in there and you go, there's a developer sitting somewhere that's just looking at the data that, let me see if somebody has posted ideas I can use for business. And all of a sudden, corporate information is out there. I'll give you an example of this. An organization goes to like a big hotel to use their conference room for like a board meeting, like a strategy meeting for a board meeting. During that process, they talk about, setting up a new company, let's say in Ghana, for example, and that, this is the domain name we're going to register for this company. This is what we are going to do. We have to create copyright. We have to get trademark for this. We have to get trademark for that. And then they go on break. After that, they come back, they flip the flipboard, finish everything that they're doing, and then they leave. And then somebody else comes in for another presentation or for another meeting in that same conference room, and he flips the flipboard backwards and he sees, this customer wants to register this domain name. So he goes to his computer and he registers the domain name for $9.98. Now that company who had the meeting first, they've gone back to their company, they're sitting in the office and they decide, okay, based on what the board has decided, let's go ahead and register the domain name. And they now want to register the domain name. And all of a sudden, that domain name they just came up with 3 days ago has been registered for somebody. And the person is now selling to them at, say, £100,000. That's what happened to olusegunobasanjo.com because somebody went into a boardroom where they were discussing the website and wrote the domain name. Another person came, registered the domain name, and when Obasanjo said he wanted the domain name, they said no, it's not available. What used to cost $9.98 last week is now costing $200,000, and the man did not pay. But that's the risk we take when we use platforms that are simple, that they're not enterprise platforms, they're not secure, they're not private, and don't even support any form of consciousness or security behind them. All right. At a corporate level, one of the things you can do, and if you speak to someone like Temi, she will sell this governance thing around AI for you very well. I'm not a fan of it, but at a corporate level, it is important that you lock down or you stop any use of these platforms in your organization without putting proper controls around it. This is because people are getting very careless nowadays because everybody has, ChatGPT on their phone. You're going into meetings where people are, recording the entire meeting on their phone, then copying and pasting that audio file into ChatGPT and saying, generate the minutes of this meeting for me. All of a sudden, corporate information that is, very important to the organization is now being leaked to public people through such lazy efforts. Okay. The second thing I want to talk about today is advanced prompting, and I'm sure this will be interesting for a lot of us. I believe we have 2 hours. Is that a wrong assumption? Can someone just confirm?
It's 6 to 8. Yeah, you're right.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is advanced prompting. Prompting is the most important skill in using AI effectively. And if you speak to people who use AI in their daily life, they will tell you the truth. Prompting makes a lot of difference. In fact, I believe prompting comes before buying a purchase plan or buying like a paid plan for any AI platform. Because if you can word your words, if you can word the words properly, or if you can arrange the words properly, you will get the best result. When search engines first came, then you used to have search engines like Atlas Vista, there was Yahoo Search, there was like all different kinds of search engines. And in those days, when we started writing project reports and things in school, a lot of people will go and spend money in overnight cyber cafes trying to sit down to browse to get data for their project. And it used to amaze me then because you will see somebody say, I've been paying for overnight browsing for like four weeks. I've not gotten the information I need for my project. But some other people will go to the cyber cafe just for like 30 minutes and they'll come back with like loads of PDF relevant to them. What used to separate those people is the terms that people used to put in the search engine. And the same thing applies now. In fact, there are certification exams now for prompting that people write just to get better at prompting. Because if you get better at prompting, you will spend less time speaking to an AI agent and you'll be more conscious and careful about what it is you need to do. So whenever people talk about prompting, what I usually advise them to do is to follow a format. And different people have like different formats. People have create, people have all kinds of formats. But it is not so much important what that format is, but what that format does. So if you understand what the format does, then you can just recreate it on your own, and you don't necessarily have to follow like all the different sections of it. So I'll give you an example. So let's say I wanted to ask an AI agent about something that I do at work. I'm a cloud solutions architect in my normal life. So if I wanted to ask it a question, I would usually put my role before the question I'm asking, because what I want it to give me is a response that is refined for the role that I have. If you ask different people in different walks of life to explain a particular term, depending on what it is they do for a living, they will explain it differently. Let's say, for example, now I say somebody in computer science should explain deadlock. The way the person will explain it is like, oh, multiple resources are asking for something and nobody has it because somebody else has it. If you ask a medical doctor, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm just guessing, maybe they will think it is like something is blocking something from going somewhere. They may have very similar meanings, they will mean exactly different things. So whenever you're responding to an AI, you're asking it to do something for you, always, remember the role that you want it to answer on your behalf in. Because let me tell you what an AI is. An AI platform, I think Pastor Laone last week was giving an analogy of, a stick man that stays on top of the entire world and that he has all the information in the entire world. What people like OpenAI and all of these people do is that they just have data. And when I say they have data, they have information about so many things in the world, and they just present it to this LLMs and, to just go through it, remember everything that is in here, and so that you know how to respond whenever anybody asks questions. So what happens when you are then asking it a question is, if you're going to ask it a question about medicine, it makes more sense to say, you are a medical doctor. What is the best medicine for a headache, right? And you can try this on your prompt, where you are at home right now as we're speaking. So put in something like, you are a medical doctor. What is a home remedy for headache? And then put in there, say you're a construction worker. What is a home remedy for a headache? And then put in there, you are a 5-star Michelin chef. What is your recommendation for a home remedy for headache? And you would see completely different answers just because you have applied the role to it. So whenever you're prompting an AI, always use that trick. That the first thing to do in a good prompt is to suggest a role to the AI engine. I'm going to put this in the chat just so that you can remember it. And if you go to like all this AI classes, people will have like very creative ways, around this. But it's really just, I believe these 5 steps are just important, and it just makes it easy. If you memorize this and you start using it day to day, it becomes muscle memory, where whenever you're prompting the AI for something, you would remember all of this. So for example, say things like you're a cybersecurity analyst, analyze the following network logs and identify possible intrusion patterns. Then provide your answer in bullet points, in a bullet list with severity rating, so that when it answers you, it will answer and put all the answers in bullet points, and it will highlight which one is more important than the other. That is better than just typing, analyze the following network logs and identify possible intrusion patterns. Because the response is going to give you then, it will give you the response from, I'm sorry I'm using IT-related examples, but I'll think of like a church-related example because it's a church. Okay, but you think of, a response for you from a network analyst, a network security person, a network administrator, and it will just randomly pick any one of them just because you have not specified. So when you are responding to an AI, you want to make sure that your prompting is good, that you're asking the right question in the right way. Always remember to do role prompting. Yes, tell the AI who it should act as. So you are an Azure Cloud Architect, then give it what it is that it's supposed to do. The other thing also is something called chain of thought prompting, okay? And these are all prompting techniques I've given you, where you encourage it to say it should think through a particular problem. So for example, explain step by step how certain thing works in this kind of environment, right? So let's say, for example, you are looking for resources on helping your kids in school, for example. Instead of just giving it to say, show me how to solve a quadratic equation, tell it to explain quadratic equations to you and the formula step by step. And you'll be blown away, because if you then explain it to your child that way, you are explaining the fundamentals to them. And so even using that formula becomes easier for them because they understand the reasoning behind it. So chain of thought prompting is very important. And then there's something called few short prompts. So this provides examples before asking the AI to perform a task. And I believe Pastor Laone also mentioned this last week, which is when you want it to answer things in a certain way, provide an example, right? So if you wanted to describe, let's say you wanted to generate, I think last week we generated something like a black horse riding away from a castle or something like that, right? So if you wanted to get like how to best describe that, go and look for a picture of a black horse away from a castle in Google, drag it and put it in there and say, describe this picture. After it describes the picture, then copy the picture and I'll put it there to say, generate a prompt of my daughter, Darasimi, something with this. But now you have now customized it for what it is you want. Don't say my daughter's name, Darasimi, my daughter A, and then put in the information there. But then when it is responding to you, you see that that response is so much better than what you will have gotten generically. Like it is so much better because now we have so much information to work with, and it is not guessing, it is not making assumptions on your behalf. So short prompting is good where you give it an example, you give it, say, for example, a customer complaint, and then you tell it to say, okay, analyze this particular customer complaint based on the example I've given you. Or, oh, this is how this particular company A responds to their clients when they have problems. Now, this is my own company's response. Tell me how best to respond to it using the example previously provided. The other thing also is structured prompting, where you are giving it something like provide your response in the following structure. So problem, root cause, solution. So if you see the prompt I generated earlier that I sent to us to say, based on our past conversations, generate what a complete profile of what you know about me is. If I just stopped there, it will have just randomly generated the information. But then I now went ahead to say basic information, where basic information is things like name, profession, location, organizations, and people associated with me, then professional background, then current work and project. Because I have then given it that structure, when it is responding, it's going to respond based on that structure, and it's not just going to randomly give me information. Okay. The next thing that I want to talk about is another, prompting technique is something called iterative prompting, where you are then leading it from one step to the other. And I usually do this when I'm doing something that is very open-ended. So for example, you can improve prompts through like refinement. So you give it the original prompt, it gives you the result. Then you improve the prompts that you sent earlier so that it refines that original result. Then it gives you an answer, and then you refine that again just to get a better prompt. Okay. So those are 5 different prompt techniques that I've just explained. But in trying to recreate all of this, you should follow this prompt, these things I posted here, which is the role, the task, the context, the format, and the constraints. And then we're going to look at that. So let me see where my notes are. Do we have any questions on all the things I just explained?
Not at the
Hello?
moment. Yeah, but
All right, so let's take these 5 steps to make like a very good prompt, and then we'll take a look at examples. Then we would ask each person to come up and then give us a response using one of these different 5. So I will give you like something that I want us to ask an AI engine, and then you would then give me a prompt following this pattern. So let me just explain what it is, for example. So the role sets the tone, expertise level, and mental model. So for example, if you want to be like highly detailed, if I was doing something that I know that maybe I'm getting paid proper money for, then I'll do something like, you are a senior cybersecurity architect with 20 years of experience in SOC operations, and then based on this, do this particular item, right? And because of how much detail it is I have put into explaining the role, it will then be constrained to use all the knowledge that is available to it in those 2 sectors. So somebody that has 20 years experience is pretty intelligent, and then somebody that is an expert in SOC operations. So the answer it will then give me will be refined to those 2 conditions. The second thing is the task. And then the task, you're specifying the specific action you want the AI, to follow. So this would be review this firewall logs to detect potential lateral movement or data exfiltration. And I'm telling you that if you come to my field, for example, people are not using AI like this. People are just copying the log file, attaching it to ChatGPT and saying, tell me what the problem with this is. Because these extra steps, they they take time. And the whole concept of, chatting with an AI engine right now is all about, fast food, how fast you can get the information out of it. But following this rule where you are, prompting the AI based on the role, the task, the context that you want it to talk about, the format, and then the constraints. So let me look for an example that is more church related, and then we'll go through it, because I think this is my technical questions are getting too technical for you. So just give me a minute. Okay. So let's assume that let's assume that I wanted to generate a message for a Sunday service, and I want to use ChatGPT or one of these platforms to help me to curate my message, organize it. Because the truth of the matter is, every person that has preached from the beginning of the world till now and has it documented from the Bible, everything is in the ChatGPT knowledge. So it's one of the better peoples to help me to plan and prepare a church message. Then we can let the Holy Spirit come and bless this message. Forgive me, I'm just joking. So let's say I wanted ChatGPT to prompt me for a message, to help me to generate a message plan for maybe like a Sunday service or like a Bible study. And I wanted it to follow this. I wanted to, send it that prompt following this particular role, task, context, format, constraint. I would say something like, you're a compassionate pastor and Bible scholar with a gift for making ancient texts look relevant to modern life. You see, once you just say that, you can be sure that the message is going to hit. And that is, write a 300 Bible study on 1 Samuel 17, David versus Goliath. The audience is small business owners in our congregation who live in St. Albans, who are currently facing economic giants and feeling overwhelmed by larger competitors, right? Now, use a 3-part structure, and that's the format right now. So I've done the role, which is you are a compassionate pastor and Bible scholar with a gift for making ancient texts relevant to modern life. That's the role. So it's assuming the role of a compassionate pastor and Bible scholar. The task I wanted to do is to write a Bible study on 1 Samuel 17, the story of David and Goliath, right? That's the task. Okay. I thought somebody was sending me a message. Okay. All right. The context is the audience. So the people that I want this message to speak to, that's the context that I'm giving it. And I'm saying the context is small business owners in St. Albans in our congregation who are currently facing economic giants and feeling overwhelmed by larger competitors. The format that I wanted to arrange this information is use a 3-part structure, the scriptural insight, a giant slaying practical application for business, and 3, a closing 2-sentence prayer. So those are the 3 levels. I want you to give me the scriptural insight and references. I want you to give me a story that will make sense about David and Goliath, and small businesses overcoming like giant obstacles. And then finally, I want you to give me the prayer point that I would then say is the end of our Bible study. Please let's close our eyes and pray. And then I'll put a constraint there to say, do not overly use church jargons. Focus on the team preparation and unconventional strategy rather than just having big faith. Now, if I copy this text into ChatGPT, okay, and I'm going to put it in the chat engine for you to say that you should also copy it on your own, you will be surprised at how efficient the message is, how organized, and you yourself will even feel confident preaching that message because it's not random. I'm not saying you should use this for church service. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, I'm even afraid to post this now before somebody comes to like Bible study and starts using something like this. So prompting techniques are important, and it is important to also follow like, a framework like this because it just makes it easier. And whenever you use this kind of techniques to prompt any AI platform, you will get decent results as compared to the alternative. If you're telling an AI platform to say, you are an outstanding teacher in a secondary school in St. Albans with 5-star Ofsted rating, and you want to recommend best, what they call this thing, extracurricular activities for children between the age of this. So you put in the role, you put in the task, you put in the context, you put in the constraints to say, I don't want something that, children of this height will feel uncomfortable doing, and I don't want something that will result in them bruising their knee. And then tell it, arrange 5 of this suggestions in the order in which you would prefer or something, or in the order that will provide them with the best chance of joining a sports team in future. You would be surprised at how refined that answer is as compared to just generally saying, give me 5 extracurricular activities children in secondary school can do. All right. So it is important that you follow those prompting techniques whenever you're working. Another thing also I want to talk about today is advanced prompting for professionals. But before we get that, that's the last thing I'm talking about today. No, the last I'm talking about is AI and problem solving. So does anybody have any questions before I continue? Any questions?
Yeah, like good evening. Just a quick one. So
Sure.
I've read before online that with AI or ChatGPT that sometimes it's good to, when you want to prompt, it's good to prompt systematically, like do the first one and maybe do the second one and do the third one. That sometimes when you prompt, when you feed it so much information, sometimes it doesn't provide the best result. So maybe you prompt first, or you put like maybe two paragraphs, and then when it brings that, then you prompt again, so that it keeps filtering and to get exactly what you want. So I don't just know. I read something like that online, because they said sometimes when you feed in so many prompts that you want it to do at once, it might not necessarily get the best stuff. So I just wanted to know what your perspective is about that.
So whenever you have, I'll explain this for you. Token structure for ChatGPT and feature versus speed. So whenever you are speaking to an AI engine, imagine that like you are paying for every conversation that it is you're saying. So when you say, hello, how are you? And it responds, you are paying a certain amount of money. And then when you say, do this particular task for me, it's looking at your balance of how much do you have and how many of these questions can I answer for you in time. What usually happens with people is, let's say somebody is on the free tier for ChatGPT. The free tier for ChatGPT, the standard token size is 16,000. There's no limit to the reasoning. And there's the document capacity, which is if you told it, for example, to generate a document or something for you now, then the maximum number of pages it can do it in is about 30 to 15 pages. Yeah. So that's the free version of it. The paid version, however, for standard context conversation, it can do 32,000 tokens. That's double what the original one can do, which is 16,000. In terms of like reasoning context, it has 196,000 tokens, which is like 150,000 words. And then in terms of document capacity, the paid version, which is the $20 per month, $20 per month one, can generate 300 pages in reasoning. So now let's assume that you're on the free one, and you ask it a question that the response is more than 15 pages. You know it's going to get to a point and then just cut out and say, I can't answer your question again because, my brother, you're not paying. But if you're using the paid one and you ask it a question that required it to, go ahead and go and think and come back with answers or like slides or like PowerPoint presentation or like Word document that is 200 pages, it will actually generate that answer for you. So the problem a lot of people face is they're asking ChatGPT and platforms like this for answers to questions, but they're being limited by the amount of tokens that is available to them to respond. And that is why at some point, the system will just be like, let me just answer this question with what I know. And so reasoning context is limited in the free one, so it can't think on your behalf. But in the paid one, for example, it can think up to and generate up to like 150,000 words. So that's one of the problems that people have with things like that. The second thing is because people don't follow this format of prompting and constraints and how you're asking it to give it back responses, it sometimes you just generate so much data that if you are even using a paid one, you are wasting your resources. So if you have 32,000 tokens, for example, which is like 24,000 words, and you're like summarize the King James Bible, it's going to it will just lead you down a rabbit hole. One of the ways for you to do this, if you're on the free version, just click on the microphone button and say count from 1 million backwards for me. A lot of times it will say, okay, it will count, and then it will start counting from 1 million backwards, and at the point it will just stop and keep quiet. And the way you ask that, why did you keep quiet? It can give you all manner of responses. That's just because the amount of reasoning that is available to it is limited because it is not a paid version. And even sometimes when it is paid, it hits this limit because we don't constrain it. You have to understand that, like, the ChatGPT engine is like you have a big tank of water, right? If you just start making holes in that tank of water, you probably even drown yourself already. But if you're going to ask a question, you have to be able to pinch it with a tap in somewhere and know that you have control over that tap to reduce or to increase it to get what it is you want from it. Did I answer your question today?
Yeah, you did. You did actually. Thanks.
Awesome. So we're sending you invoice because you can't just be asking complex questions in featuring. Okay. Anybody has any other questions before we continue? Okay, all right. So let's just continue to advance prompting for professionals. And this is for people that are using ChatGPT for work-related thing or business or something like that. So with prompting for professionals, one of the things I usually recommend to them is context layering, where you add as much context to what it is you're asking, just so that when the AI is responding, it's responding with as much data as possible. Now, when adding that context, you also have to keep in mind some of the things we spoke about earlier, which is in an attempt to give it more context, don't give it too much information. So an example would be something like you're a financial analyst specializing in emerging markets, analyze the data set from Nigerian banking stocks and identify growth trends. And then based on this information, recommend to me what stocks I should buy in the Nigerian Stock Exchange for this week ending, for this week starting Monday, right? That kind of example is better than what stocks are doing well in the Nigerian market. Tell me, because you're not going to get good information. Okay. Another thing is constraint prompting, where you limit responses. So something like you limit his response so that it doesn't just go off like on a tangent, just saying what is not relevant. So you can say, explain quantum computing in under 100 words using simple language that a 10-year-old will understand, right? So let's say maybe you come to church, you have a conversation with someone like Collie, or maybe like Sister Yemi, or one of the tech people in our church, and they mention a big word to you, and you're on your way home, you're in a car, or you're in a train, and you're like, I want to know what that word is. Instead of just asking ChatGPT to say, can you explain quantum computing for me? And then to then send you like hundreds of irrelevant messages. Say something like, explain quantum computing to me in 100 words in simplified language that a 10-year-old will understand. The way to explain it will be way better than just you asking what is quantum computing. So constraint prompting is also important so that you limit what it is that you're asking it to give back to you in terms of answers, okay? Another thing also that is important is multi-step prompt, okay? Where, for example, you develop something called a workflow prompt, where you are identifying what the key problem is, asking it to then generate solution, evaluate each solution, and then recommend the best. So let's say, for example, somebody that owned a business, a store, wanted to see ways that they can improve sales in that particular store. You don't just go and say, oh, I'm running a business where I'm selling let's say I'm selling laptops or iPads or something to students, and tell me how best I can, make more money or make more sales. No, what you should do is identify what the problem with your business is. So maybe you have a situation where people don't like a certain brand, or people prefer a particular kind of brand, or maybe in your business, for example, people are, they are delaying payments. Identify what the problem is. So you then prompt it to say, this is the problem I'm having. and then tell it that generate solutions to this problem, evaluate the solution, and recommend the best. Because in some cases, the solution to the problem could be like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 different solutions that the the AI agent will recommend. But sometimes you can just tell it another step to say, recommend which one is the best, so that it saves you the time of reading through all the 10 problems. If you have the time, you can go through them. But if you're in a pinch, you just pick the first 3. Okay? So multi-step prompting is also very, very important. So there's several examples of bad prompts that people do. So somebody is running a business, then they go to, open ChatGPT. I bet that ChatGPT can do magic. So generate a marketing plan for me. That generate a marketing plan, it will generate a marketing plan for you 100%. If you are using a paid one, it will give you a more refined one as compared to like using the cheap one, right? But even in the paid one, it will not help you to now make it better simply because you type generate a marketing plan and you're paying them $20 a month. No, it will give you a very wide-ending, marketing plan that in most cases you'll not even be able to use it to apply to you. A better prompt will be, you're a marketing strategist. Create a 6-month digital marketing strategy for a Microsoft cloud computing company targeting enterprise clients in West Africa. Include target audience, channels, campaign ideas, KPIs. If you posted that, for example, into the prompt, the kind of answer you will get will be bank ready level. It's the kind of marketing plan you can then take to the bank to say, I have a business idea, this is it. Okay? As compared to just generating generic information that is no longer relevant to any other person, much less you. Okay, so this comes to the end of the second part of our training today, and then the last part we're going to go to is AI and problem solving. So do you have any questions on all the things I've explained so far? Hello?
I'm trying to do multi-step understanding, so it's taking a while. I guess for me personally, I think when there are a few questions, but I think I'll need to probably just watch this again. It's a little bit techy for me, but I don't know if anyone else has got any question in the minute that we want to ask.
I'm sorry if it's a bit technical. If somebody had prompted me, I'll have dialed it down. I'm extremely sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm taking notes as well, and I'll definitely watch this. But again, I'm not very techy, so it's understandable.
All right. So any other questions again before I continue? This is the last thing we're going to talk about, and then take any other question after that. Is it fine to continue?
Yes, please.
All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about is AI problem solving. A lot of times people want to use AI to solve problems, and AI is very good for solving problems. It's an amazing tool, but the tool is only as good as the person who is using it. I remember an analogy somebody gave one time and was saying that, anybody can go into a store and buy a basketball, but in your hands, the basketball is worth exactly what it is worth. But in the hands of someone like Jordan or LeBron James, that basketball is worth something else, because those people have refined themselves to the point where that basketball is no longer just a basketball. It's like an amazing tool. I remember in the last Olympics, one guy came in the shooting range competition and he was just making everybody look silly because he was hitting the target over and over again. So the point where people were suggesting that the guy works for like some secret intelligence and they just released him or something. But AI is that powerful. AI can be that companion for us if we use it in the right way to problem solve. Now, problem solving in AI is a framework, really, and it's a framework because if you just want to solve problems and you just want to push all the problems to AI without structuring it, you will get very, very weird responses. A simple AI assisted problem solving process, the framework I'm explaining to you, it says that you define the problem, which is the first step. You gather the information, generate options, evaluate solutions, and then implement whatever the decision is. So the business problem. And this is how you would prompt the AI if you were, asking it to do a particular thing, or you're asking it to help you to solve a particular problem. To say that when you are defining the problem to the AI, you should explain the problem properly. So instead of saying, customer service response time is too slow. Let's say, for example, we're going to ask it to help you to solve a problem relating to your business where you feel like customer service people are too slow. So it's like customer service response time is too slow. That's the problem that you're having. To prompt it properly for the AI, you say, you are an operations analyst, identify the root cause of slow customer support response time and propose solutions. The AI will then suggests to you something like workflow automation, maybe adding chatbot or like knowledge base, improving your knowledge base for your particular problem. Or for the particular problem, you know, you are experiencing. But the point is that the prompts that you give to the AI will determine what kind of response or what kind of suggestion it will give to you. Another problem example, for example, is like, let's say you had like an IT infrastructure problem. So, my company is experiencing high cost of IT infrastructure. That's not the better way to put it. The better way to put it to the AI prompt for business solving problems is you're a cloud cost optimization expert. And we've talked about this, excuse me, from the beginning of the session to say that anything you're asking the AI, no matter how tedious it may look like, is it every time I'm prompting the AI, I have to put in a prompt to say, you are this, you are that, you are this, you are that. It's just the best way to use it. And it's unfortunate that when AI started, nobody took the time to tell people that these are all the things you have to do, you know, before you start using the system. Instead, they just put the app on the App Store and there was no knowledge for people. So people started using it wrongly. And so now trying to correct people now is now a problem. But I think that they did that just to make more money from people. So that's another conversation for another day. But this is the best way to prompt the AI engine because like I explained to you, the AI engine has all the knowledge in the world available and it has all the perspectives of the world available. So if you're going to ask it a question, for example, like, ask it that question from the perspective of who you want to solve that problem from. So you're a cloud cost optimization expert, analyze the possible cost of high infrastructure cost and suggest optimization strategies. So based on this kind of feedback that you're giving to it, then he knows well to say, okay, I will give you how to, you know, compare costs for the individual devices that your team members are using, how to avoid cost as maintenance cost for or depreciation value for each one of those items as the year goes by, how to tag resources, how to ensure that the right person is getting the right kind of computers to use for the work that they're doing. So those are the kind of suggestions it will give you. And it is very important that when you're speaking to AI, you know, with any of these kind of problems, you factor all of this in so that when you then ask it the question, it knows the best way to respond to you. And you limit things like that cause unnecessary drama, like hallucination. Because if you're not careful, if you ask the AI a question that is unending, in an attempt to just provide you an answer, sometimes you go and add jargons inside and come and add what it is that you don't see. And the AI can do that because it's not really responsible to you. Anytime you use any of this platform, they will tell you that AI can make mistakes because they want to absorb themselves from the responsibility of those hallucination problems. Okay, so if let me give you another example for let's say decision making. Says, you know, I want to enter a new market. Give me ideas. Says, act as a market strategist. Analyze the opportunities and risk of launching a fintech product in St. Albert. That way, now when it is giving you examples, it will consider things like regulatory environment, competition, customer adoption to give you an answer because you have told it to act as a market strategist. And you're not just generally telling it, give me ideas about, you know, how to launch a fintech product in St. Albert. Okay. The other thing also that I want to mention here is limited. When you begin to look at AI as a thinking partner, and when you use AI as a thinking partner, you are using it for things like idea generation, for risk analysis, decision making, scenario modeling. And examples of this will be things like, so if you've been following gold prices and silver prices, for example, in the market now, you can then tell it to say, what will happen if oil prices drop by 30%? And then it then give you an answer based on you know, knowledge that it has gained from maybe stock market, currency, government budget, or even news and information. So I know people, for example, who deal in like global trading platforms, and they're constantly, sourcing for news, information on different places. So they create agents, for example, that go to different countries where they have businesses and opportunities and goes to listen to like news channels in those countries, and then comes back to them to tell them these are the highlights of news in. So you imagine these people that sit down with like multiple computers, highlights of news in Hong Kong, highlights of news in Japan, highlights of news in US, highlights of news in UK, highlights of this. Then they will now say, okay, tell me which one of them affects my stock portfolio for the next 1 week. And then it is giving analysis based on all of that information it has gone to gather. So it is important to give AI context, give it a role, give it a task, give it constraints, and give it a format for which it should respond to you every single time you are conversing with it. And if you want to even make it easier, you can tell the AI prompt to say, okay, this is what I want to do. Now structure this prompt for me following this format. So let's say maybe you want to generate a message on Saul on his way to Damascus, or the conversion of Saul to Paul. And you now say, okay, generate a prompt for me following this constraint for the story of Paul. And you'll be surprised that, how refined it to then give you that information. You can then copy that information and now paste it back into the same chatbot or the AI engine for it to give you a more refined answer. The other thing also is, and this is something we need to bear in mind, AI alone is not the solution to the problem. And I remember, speaking to people, I think it was on Thursday, and I was telling them this, that as much as a lot of us fear AI coming into our lives, the truth of the matter is AI cannot exist in isolation. Maybe a lot of movies we have watched have taught us that way, but right now, not because AI is dependent on us for power or something, but that we've discovered that AI knowledge combined with human expertise, which is AI analysis combined with human expertise, is actually what makes the difference. If you are just going to just take AI and just let it be asking questions or answering questions randomly, you will not get the best from it. What makes the best for AI right now in our time is that AI with human expertise is just perfect. And the way to know that this is now a problem, now speaking to Pastor Laulu and the team the other day, is that you now have AI engines now that are now, separating themselves into parts when you ask them a question, so that one person can act as, somebody to filter, and the other person can act as the person that is doing the work. So I'll give you an example. There's a platform we use to build mobile applications. It's called Replit. And in the beginning stages of using Replit, when you're using their AI system to generate code, you just tell it to generate code. Sometimes it will generate the right thing, sometimes it generate the wrong thing, and you don't know which one is the correct one. Nowadays, when it generates the code, it sends it to an architect, which is like another AI engine, for that architect to review it and say, yes, what the customer has actually have done it. Okay, you can now send it to the customer. And it's very interesting because studies have shown now that, for example, I remember a couple of months ago when Elon Musk was, showcasing the latest version of Grok AI and was explaining that they gave it a maths problem, and Grok then split itself into about 5 parts. The way, like, when they give us problems in university, they say, let all of us come together and join our heads together, discuss this problem, and then. So what the AI engine did was it split itself into 5 and then gave the problem to each person and said, all of you go and solve it and then bring your answers and then let's discuss. And this is not something that somebody prompted. This is just the AI itself thinking about the best way to solve the problem. So human expertise is essential in getting AI analysis to give you the best result. And we need to fight for our place here, because if we don't fight for our place, what the AI will simply do is just generate another AI that is acting like a human being and tell it to do that work. But for a lot of us that are doing work, that are doing things, this is usually the best way to go about it. Don't see the AI as the solution to the problem without you. And so you need to guide it, you need to help it. It's like you have a child that has huge potential. Maybe he has huge potential for running. You don't just release him and say, start running everywhere. No, you teach him how to use the best gadgets, the best tools, the best things to help him to develop his muscles. Then you take him to like a training field and you're like, oh yeah, run around this place and let me time you. And then the more you do that, you then eventually end up with somebody called Usain Bolt. So I have a couple of exercises. They're just 2 exercises, and then we'll also discuss some key takeaways from this conversation. And then after that, if you have any more questions, you can then ask. Okay. I'm trying to look for. Hold on, let me look for my exercises. Okay. So. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I want everybody to just go into the chats and then just type safe or not safe. So I'll ask you the question, then type whether it's safe or not safe to ask an AI this type of question. So if I write a prompt to say, write a prayer for somebody going through a difficult time, is this safe or not safe? Okay, see obedient students. Okay, let's pick another one. Summarize the list of church members, including their names, phone numbers, and addresses. I thought somebody wrote safe when I saw safe. Okay, so that's unsafe. Let me just state clearly that it is very unsafe. Write a sermon outline about faith during difficult season. Okay. All right. So let's look for another one. Analyze the spreadsheet of members and their tithing records. Did somebody say safe? Wait, let me ask the question again. Wait. Because I saw safe there. Just so that I'm clear. So analyze spreadsheet of members and their tithing records, safe or unsafe. Okay, so that's unsafe. All right, so I have a couple of prompts, and I'm going to send the prompts to you, and then you then tell me how the prompts can be refined. Okay, so write a sermon. Okay, I'm going to ChatGPT and I type write a sermon, and I want you to then put what a better prompt will have been. Okay, how can we improve the prompt? And please, this before you people start post, because I see some people copying the thing and pasting it into ChatGPT to say, oh, no, please try and think through this. Try and think through it properly. Don't rush and quickly copy it into ChatGPT and say, give me the best prompt so that I can shock Ola. Please don't shock me, because when I see the prompt, I will know that it was already generated from ChatGPT or from Gemini or something. So just think through it, and if you post your response, I can bet you that we will know whether your response is genuine or your response is fake. And please, I want everybody to participate into this. So just follow what it is I said earlier, that like what a strong prompt contains, and then send it. Let's see. Hey, we want to easy fight. I'm not specific. I'm saying that you should generate. Tell me if you wanted to write a prompt to ChatGPT to say you want it to write a sermon for you, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I will be specific with what I want the sermon to be about. That means I'll tell ChatGPT specifically what it is that I want the sermon to be about. Because when you say write a sermon, what
I'm going to tell ChatGPT is what I want you to put in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Act as a pastor. Wait, let's read the first person's one. Act as a pastor and write a sermon on how God gave King Solomon his wisdom, and make this around 500 words. I think that's fine. There's a couple of things that this person has done correctly. In terms of the prompt, which is act as a pastor, number one, write a sermon, that's the task. The context is, where is it again? how God gave King Solomon his wisdom, and then the constraint is 500 words. What you have missed out is the format to say, okay, maybe he writes this in like 3 paragraphs or something. That's the best way, to explain it. And then you then have this, Dami wrote, I'm a pastor of 200 people in St. Albans. We are currently learning about forgiveness. Can you write me practical guidelines on how we can actively live this virtue in our lives every day? That's fine, but then you have missed the format and you have missed the constraints, okay? Then somebody else wrote, I'm a traditional pastor leading a congregation in a village. Who is this? Pastor, we are not leading we are not a village, please. Church members, look for Pastor tomorrow and tell him that we are not in a village. A village of 500 people who are mostly uneducated from that. Can you write a message based on Jesus teaching the Beatitudes? So that's fine, but you have also missed out format and constraints. Okay? Kole says, Kole has copied this thing to ChatGPT. It's too fine. Says, I'm a lead pastor of a global church looking to improve congregational participation in our 2nd and 3rd service. Hey, write a sermon on the importance of improved personal engagement in church services. The sermon must be applicable to online and in-person participation. So this is fine. You are putting the constraints there, but you have not put in the format. So you are missing format, Connie. So that's a sign that you did not copy to ChatGPT.
We have to write it quickly now. You didn't give us time.
Toby says, my topic for a sermon on Sunday is on love as a response to difficult people. Suggest scriptures along this topic and key points to pass this message in a readily understandable manner and to a diverse audience. That's fine. Context is there, task is there, role is there, but format and constraint is not there, in my opinion. And then people say you're a pastor. Write a sermon on love with reference to the story of Joseph in the Bible. So role is there, task is there, context, no. And then format and constraints, no. I'm a pastor of a family church based in St. Albans of almost just doing violence, of mostly Nigerian immigrants. Some of us are not immigrants, some are Nigerian citizens. Can you write a sermon speaking on how to be more like Jesus, especially as he also lived among people of, among people of other cultures? But there is no format and there is no constraint. Okay, so you see how it's really difficult, right? It's really difficult to fulfill all of these conditions, right? But the truth is, if you paste this as compared to what the alternative would be, you will see that your conversations with AI, your conversations around AI will constantly improve and you would only get better. And you get to a point where it's just muscle memory to just type in. It's just muscle memory to just type in the right prompt. And if you remember the example I was giving earlier about, back in university, helping people to write, helping people to get materials for that project, I literally turned that thing into a business where people come and pay me, and then I'll help them to go and source materials. And so I will gather like 20, 30 people's project topics, and I will go and take, if you remember what floppy disk drives are, we'll take floppy disk drives for each person with their names written on it. And I will just download the resources for them. And it just shows you that if you prompt properly, you will get the best result. If you prompt properly, you will get information from AI that you won't even believe that, somebody won't even believe that it's AI that generated. I think I was giving an example while talking to people earlier that you had a situation, there's a situation, like a real life situation that happened in a school in the UK, where the teacher asked the students to do something, and in that school, they have this platform where the teacher can see what the student is doing as they are doing it. And he assigned them a task, and this student just copied the task, opened another prompt in ChatGPT, pasted it, pressed enter. He got the result, copied it, pasted it back in ChatGPT, and then now type add punctuation mark, punctuation errors, grammatical errors to make this look like it was done by a year 8 student or something. I press enter, and the thing generated the answer, then he copied the answer and he pasted into the assignment, and all the while the teacher was looking at him. And then the teacher asked him a question to say, did you even take a look at what the question is? He said no, he didn't. And the teacher was like, okay, so reads the question. And the question is, how can we use AI more effectively to help us in school? And the boy could not even be bothered because he really didn't care. But the part of that story that I said this for is that the fact that the guy received the answer, then now we find the answer to what the teacher would not be able to detect. To say add punctuation errors and grammatical errors that a child in year 8 will make. And the thing then we find the answer so that by the time the teacher is seeing it, to be like, oh, ChatGPT cannot make this error. So obviously this boy did it on his own. But that's not the case. What this prompt structure would help you to do is help you to get to the point where, oh, I'm so sorry. I would answer that question, Toby. It's to help you to get to a point where, you know, like generating the right prompt is muscle memory to you. Every time somebody says, put this thing in ChatGPT, your brain will just think in role, task, context, format, constraints. And by the time you do this several times, you will see that it just comes and it flows naturally to you. So if I was going to follow this format to say, write a sermon following this format, this is what my own answer would be. Write a sermon on love. Following this format. Just give me a second, I'm coming. So, okay, all right. So let me explain this. So, this would be too much. Don't let me post this. All right, but then, in answering Tolu's question, as please some of us joined late, please explain format and constraint with the example of a sermon. So, format and constraint will have been like give me this in 3 paragraphs. Okay, so that you limit what it is you want to talk about. And then constraints could have also been something like, format will have been like something about the structure to say, okay, start with, let the first paragraph contain maybe the Bible references for this. Let the second paragraph contain the body and maybe like a story that can sell this idea I'm trying to share. And then finally, maybe the third part of it will have been like the prayer points for what the message or the sermon is all about. So that will have been the format. But the constraint will have been, what I said before, which is, limits this to 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs or like 100 words for each paragraph, so that the thing doesn't just generate unnecessary information that would then take forever. Okay? Did I answer your question? I hope it did. Okay. All right.
Yes, you have. Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. All right. So finally, let's just go to, I think the last thing we want to talk about is, let me see. I'll do this example. I gave us some exercises. So let's just finish the remaining exercises and then we'll be done. We have just a couple of minutes more. So the other thing I want us to do now is let's assume that, you are a paid person that spots AI mistakes. So I'm going to give you some example prompts. Okay, no, let's skip this. Let's do another example to say that and this thing I want to speak about, even though I'm vast in it, I don't think it's something that a lot of us take into consideration. And that's the ethical use of a platform like this. It is important for us to know what it is we should use tools like this for, because if we're not careful, and I'll explain this, it's unfortunately the only example that is coming to my head now is a technical example. So last week, Pastor Laulu also showed us how you can use AI to generate code, right? Now, the coding database we have in the world for the largest part of the past 1,000 years, all of that code has been generated by human knowledge. By human means like me, like is writing code from like page 1 to page 1,000, physically writing and typing out every line of it, or maybe just using auto-complete at some certain stage. All of the code we have written, let's assume that that code is 5% of like a whole bucket. In the space of the past 2 years, AI has written 90% more code than we have written. The problem with that code that AI has written is because people are not following proper formats and proper method for writing code, following proper syntax and things, a lot of that code contains errors. That errors now has now been joined to our original 5%. And that now makes up 95% of the knowledge that AI has about writing code. When AI is suggesting code to people now, it's suggesting those code with some of the errors it's made and some of the good that human beings made. And that's where conversations around what is ethical and you know, like an AI ethical decision comes in. Because if we are not careful and we keep using AI to generate content and people are making mistakes like this and just posting and, you know, saving that content anywhere. Now, people are using AI to generate blog posts. Those blog posts contain errors. They're not properly formatted. All that information is the same information that we're going to feed back to train more AI engines. So you might get to a point where the AI is learning rubbish from itself because it wrote the rubbish originally. And so there's a lot of conversations around being ethical about AI. And this would then bring in a question that I have asked and I've used several as examples in the course of this meeting, which is, should you use AI to write sermons? Yes or no? I want everybody to put the answers in the chat and then we can discuss it. So should you use AI to write sermons? It's just yes, we're typing now. Hey. Okay, so people are putting in their answers. Vivo says no. Okay, so a lot of people are saying no, and then I think Toby said to the extent of restructuring your thoughts, yes, but the answer is no by default. But to the extent where you're using to restructure what it is that is going on, she feels the answer should be yes. Okay. The other question I want to ask, and I'm going to then answer these questions for you altogether, is should AI replace? Should the AI be used in counseling? Counseling, like you see somebody has a problem, you want to give them counsel. Maybe somebody comes to you, oh, we have this challenge, you just start the challenge in ChatGPT and say, give me advice. Should AI be used in counseling? Counseling in church, I'm not saying counseling like, hey, this person has come with another dimension. It has no human compassion, okay? Those of us that went to military school were counseled by military leaders that had no human compassion. So this human compassion business doesn't sell. Okay. All right. And okay, so somebody else says no, except to generate relevant materials. But the truth of the matter is, and this is my own opinion, if Pastor Laulu comes or colleague comes come and have a session, they may have a completely different opinion. And I think that AI should assist, but not replace. We just like Toby said, that to the extent of structuring your thoughts, for example, so that you don't, lose track of what it is you are saying or disappear or, forget what it is you are talking about, even to structure what it is that you are saying. There's no problem in using these tools if you are using them to assist, right? But it would be wrong now for me to begin a service on Monday to say, oh, Sunday you are preaching about this, then I just copy and paste it in here and say, generate the sermon notes, and I just show up in church and then I'm preaching it. Oh, why didn't we ask you to explain? Yes. And then I'm preaching it. That's not what, church services should be like. And I remember in the early days of AI agents, there were services that AI agents were organizing, where they were doing like amazing praise worship service, and they were preaching a very fantastic sermon, and they were not asking for things like offering. And people came out and were like, these are the kind of churches that will replace other churches in years to come. And there was a part of me that laughed about it. But the truth is, those services now are gaining momentum. More people are joining those services online. There's a guy right now in Ghana that uses AI to pitch messages. He's a Muslim. But it just tells you that, because the whole service is generated, like the entire service is generated, and you think you're watching a live service in a church, but every transition, every message, everything that they're generating is just AI. There's no pastor that looks like that. There are no church members that look like that. But people are subscribing, people are following that church now, and people are going there. I don't think that AI should be used for those kind of things. AI should be limited. And this is why it is important that governance structures come in and they pull their weight and stop some of these things before it gets to the point where we lose complete control on those kind of things. So these are important things to put in mind, or to bear in mind, as we go on and we begin to use AI in our daily activities. I think that covers, all the things that it is I wanted to talk about. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for listening to me ramble for 2 hours, almost 2 hours. Sorry once again that I came a few minutes late. And I hope you have learned something from this session. We started the session by just discussing 3 main topics, which is security, which is keeping your system and data safe, and what you should not put in AI. And obviously from the answers, it's obvious that you people got that part well. And then advanced prompting, where you follow the prompt algorithm, or prompt pattern whenever you are prompting, and then using AI and then solving problems. We should be conscious, we should remember ethics. We should also be conscious of how it is we prompt the AI to help us to answer the right questions, so that we don't lose scope, or we don't just try ourselves under the bus. Thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely evening, and see you in church tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Uncle Alan. Thanks very much for taking the time to walk us through and sharing from your professional knowledge with us. And thanks everybody for joining. I'm sure you can join me in saying a big thank you to Lai. If we were paying for this, we will be out of pocket, all of us, to get this training. It's interesting that when during the week, I got an email from Masterclass in America. They've just done a course that they're selling on AI, and I'm like, this is really quite timely for us as a people. I like what you said around AI knowledge being combined with human expertise, and I think that's what we're spending these few weeks to do, to upscale ourselves and get more expertise in terms of how to use this, so that we can use all these platforms and different AI platforms knowledgeably. So thanks again. God bless you. We will continue this next week as well. So next week, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we will be continuing the training. Looking forward to what will be offered to us then. Sorry, Toby, sorry, I've just seen that you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Hi, sorry, Stolakwa, I put the question in the chat box. I just wanted to draw Lai's attention to it. I don't know if it's been answered before.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Using AI to structure a CV, is it safe to include your name and other personal details?
No, so if you're structuring a CV, like I said, you can remove what is important and just blow it out. So, for example, I gave an example earlier to say, if I was going to tell AI to do something, instead of writing help Collier Lagbaye, or just say help customer A. So if you put customer A in your CV, it will still generate, because your name is not relevant to anything in the CV or tying it back to you. But you can then, remove out sections that will contain personal information. I think even nowadays, it's not good practice to put your house address and things like that in CV. You just put your location. I'm in United Kingdom, so if you want to employ me. But if you hide out all this information, it can still help you to generate a proper CV, because the CV is about structuring the information that is in there. And once you remove what is relevant or what is confidential to you, you can let the AI generate that. I believe that answered the question.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks very much, everybody. God bless you. Have a lovely night rest, and we'll see you online and in person tomorrow morning for service. God bless. Thanks again, Lai. God bless you. Appreciate your time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, and thank you very much.
Good night. Thanks,
Bye.
Larry. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.